Welcome to Widowed Too Soon. This is Michelle Bader. I am sitting here with my friend and co-host Mark Massaro. Mark, how you doing today?
I am great, Michelle. What's happening?
Oh, so much. Since we last recorded, we have had
Christmas?
Christmas, Jinx, Christmas and New Year's Eve, all that stuff. And I went to LA, not your LA, Louisiana. The LA of LAs.
the popular one.
The popular
You went
one.
to the popular LA.
I did, to visit my boyfriend Joel. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
We're actually going to get more into that in a few minutes. But tell me, how was Christmas for you? Did you find the second year easier as far as grief and like how was it?
Yeah. Well, so last year Christmas came only 4 months after I had lost Lacey, so it was still very fresh. We had her service in September. So honestly, last Christmas I couldn't even get into it, which is weird for me. I love Christmas. This year I had the magic back. It was great. We went and looked at Christmas lights. I watched my favorite Christmas movie, National Lampoon's. It was just good. It was a lot of that, magic. Christ has been born. So I got a new car, and I know I've said that, but it comes with 4 months of Sirius XM radio.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And so I was just all tuned into the Christmas channels all month. It was great. It was really cool. My kids had a great Christmas. I spent it with my brother. It was awesome. It was really cool. How about you?
It was good. A tradition we started last year. So we've always done cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning. And last year I started the tradition of let's go around the table and say a favorite memory of your dad.
Oh, that's cool.
And so they did it again this year. So that was cool. Like it's kind of, becoming a tradition now.
That's awesome. I'm still stuck on cinnamon rolls because I've been craving a good cinnamon roll for 6 months.
It's from Cinnabon. You know Cinnabon, right?
Yeah. I can't say that Cinnabon. I necessarily know what their cinnamon rolls taste like.
Like at the mall, Cinnabon?
No, I know what it is, but
go get one.
I've just been craving like a really so good cinnamon roll, just like covered with icing. And
it's the best.
Super gooey and.
So go to Cinnabon. Your kids will love them too.
Really? So okay. All right.
I mean, they're really expensive. Like it was like $21 for 6, but they're huge.
Bad.
Like your kids could split one. Like they're the giant ones.
Yeah.
But they're so good. Or it's like $15 for a 4-pack or something like that. So
no, that's fine. That's a good.
You
price.
should do it. So we get them every year. Like I get them at the mall a few days before Christmas and freeze them, and then heat them back up. So I forgot you're supposed to take them out and let them unthaw. So they were a little like cold and hot at the same time. So next year I gotta remember because I didn't take them out the night before, but it was good. Like I didn't have grief. Christmas Eve we went to church, did stuff with my family, just the stuff we normally do. And I got a lot from the kids. Like it doesn't feel like Christmas, and I think it's because we're in a new house, so they never experienced Christmas here. So that was different for them. But I just try to talk about new traditions and the traditions we used to do, they've outgrown anyways. They were like, well, we used to do this. And I'm like, you don't want to go to Santaland anymore. Like you guys are like 13, 15, and 17. So we wouldn't go there anyways. Some of the traditions are gone anyways, because they're older. And they just were realizing the magic of Christmas gets a little less as you get older. Like,
no, it doesn't.
Okay, well, you would argue with that, but that all night thinking Santa's coming,
Oh, right.
All of that stuff. So,
well, I guess it just changes. And so there's probably a phase in there from when you're too old for Santa. I don't want my kids to hear me, so I'm trying to talk down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you're too old for Santa and you don't have kids to splurge on or whatever. So there's that phase for sure. It's something interesting we did. So I bought, and I know you did too, but I decided to get new stockings this year, like embroidered and, like nice stockings because like my brother's name is Rodney. But we would put Rod on his stocking. And so I pulled down the stocking from the attic and it said odd, like the R had fallen off. And I'm like, all right, vinyl stickers aren't going to cut it anymore. So I did get new stockings, but it was interesting. So I can't remember. I think I talked to you about this, but I didn't know what to do. It was so weird that I filled up my brother's stocking. He's my older brother, but whatever. We're cool like that. And I filled up my kid's stocking with all kinds of stuff. And then I was like, oh, this is weird. Like I have a stocking and nobody's putting anything in it.
Right.
I don't know what to do. And I was like, I don't know what to do here. Like, and so I just bought some candy that I like and put it in my stocking. And I was like, this is so weird. And I even asked my daughter, I'm like, hey, I didn't want to make her feel bad, but I was like, hey, I have an idea. And we were like we were in like Big Lots, I think. I don't know. We were killing time. So we went to a store and I was like, hey, I have an idea. What if I give you guys like $20 and you guys buy stuff for daddy's stocking? And she's like, no, I don't really feel like doing that. And I'm all, oh, okay.
She doesn't think that Santa does it?
Well, it's like, okay, so she's old enough. I think she knows, but she just kind of still wants to keep it alive, you know?
Yeah, my kids do.
So like she didn't have any gifts that said like from Santa, because I actually read something interesting. They said, make sure whatever gifts you give your kids that say Santa on it, make sure it's not something like, you know, a PlayStation or something, because when they go to school, and if the kids are like, what did Santa get you for Christmas? They're like, he got me a PlayStation. And then some kid who's less fortunate is like, oh, really? Like, I got new pajamas. Like, was I a bad kid? I never
thought of that.
I didn't either. And I was like, wow, that's really, so I was just like, you know what? Like, Christmas is, I'm never going to promote Santa, because to me, I want Christmas to be about Jesus in my house.
Right.
So, but you know, it's fun to,
you
know, and I'm like, you know, just so you kids know, Santa really likes tacos. Like, he doesn't want cookies this year. I heard he likes tacos.
That's hilarious.
So anyways, it was just a weird experience. It wasn't like any kind of grief moment or anything, but it was just weird. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, do I put stuff in my own stocking? Like, this is weird. And then when we all open it, do I like act surprised that I have like, Pez and Starburst and my stocking?
Yeah, I always wrap presents for myself, but I did that when Luke was sick too. But my mom fills my stocking. She's done it for years because he was sick. But I do, like, I bought myself an Apple Watch, and I just wrapped it and put it under the tree and forgot about it. And yeah, so I'm sure we're not the only widows that do that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure some other people experience that.
Oh yeah.
This Christmas.
So what did you do last year then? Because you were just
I didn't even pull down the stockings from the attic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, I was having a really hard time. Yeah. I mean, I got up the Christmas lights. And instead of like buying a Christmas tree, I just went and bought a fake one. But actually, I'm really stoked on that, because I got a really nice one for like, it was marked wrong. And so I got like a $400 tree. It was like the, you know, all the bells and whistles, cream of the crop tree, but it was sitting in front of a display that said like $129. And I was like, oh, well, I can do that. And I brought it up there, and the manager was like, well, you're right. I mean, that's what it said. Like, it was mislabeled. It wasn't like in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And so he's all, well, I got to honor that price. And I'm like, yep, sounds about right to me. So anyways, I now am a lover of fake trees. It was always something through our whole marriage. I'm like, no way. I want the smell. I want the experience. And I want to, you know, struggle with my dogs drinking the water every year.
Yeah.
Like, all the pine needles. Anyways. So no, last year I did the best I could, but I was really in a just dark place, you know. It was really hard. I know a lot of people relate to that and probably experience that this Christmas. So yeah. Anyways, how about well, you said your mom does it, so I was gonna say, was it harder for you the first year? But
no, and you know, this Christmas, of course I thought about Luke and we talked about him, but it was easier. It definitely, you know, you and I used to talk about, like, some people say the second year is harder. We're like, I hope not, but I think we're both finding it's not for us.
No way.
It's a personal journey, but for us it's not, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It just seems like my grief now is a lot more for my kids, the things that they're missing out on, and not having Luke here to help with just everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's partly because now I'm in a new relationship, and so I don't miss that part as much because I'm with somebody. I don't know, but
it's like you're kind of taken care of now.
Yes. And I feel I talked to Haley about this the other day. Like, I feel like it's hardest on Luke's parents and then them, because they never get another son and they will never get another dad.
Right.
I will have another spouse. So, I don't know. And it's like, I almost felt guilty about that, but that's the way that it is. But in the beginning, I think it was the hardest on me. I mean, it's hard on everybody, but you know, you got to figure out the finances and this and that, like, everything changes in your whole world.
And, you know, though, you can't feel guilt because this isn't what you wanted. And this isn't what, it's not like it's something you chose. It's just, this is what happened to you and you're doing the best you can with what you've been given. And so, yeah, sure. I mean, there's definitely an aspect of like, this sucks for them, but it can't be something you feel like guilty about, because you've already carried enough. All of us have already carried enough burden to where we don't need to create burden for ourselves.
Yes, exactly. Good point. Well, let's dive into our topic today.
Don't just change the topic.
Okay, what else do you want to say about that? Kidding. We could keep talking.
Nothing. I just wanted to call you out.
All right. Okay. So,
topic. Sorry.
Our second most popular episode is called Dating is Not a 4-Letter Word. And we know that you guys are interested in hearing more about dating. And my relationship, well, both of our relationship statuses have changed since our last episode. And so we thought we would talk more. And this one we are calling, Can You Love Two People at Once? Meaning, can you love your late spouse and somebody else? This is something that is new to me. I am in a serious relationship where we do love each other. We are talking about a future together. And it is so interesting to me. And, Joel is my new boyfriend and Luke is my late spouse. And I've been able to talk to Joel about like, I can be in the moment with him, totally in love with him in this world. And then I can have a grief thing happen, or I can be looking at pictures of Luke and be totally in love with him at the same time. And I did not know this was possible. It is something that is hard for anyone to understand. It is rarely talked about. And so I just wanted to spend some time talking about this subject. Like, is it really possible? Can you continue to love your spouse and love a new person in a new relationship at the same time? So, I mean, I guess kind of starting off, like, what are your thoughts on this question? Can you love two people at once? Your thoughts and experience.
I think, first of all, I don't remember where I saw you say it, or if you said it to me a long time ago. I don't remember where it came from, but I remember you said it, that you conflated it to children. Yes. And I thought it was a great analogy, that it's like, because I do remember that vividly, that when Lacey was pregnant with Luke, I remember having this weird feeling that I was like, am I really going to be able to love a kid as much as I love Alexis? Because that feels hurtful for me to say now, but I didn't know Luke.
Right.
He wasn't even born yet. And so I remember just thinking like, oh my gosh, like, can I really love someone the same way? And I remember you saying that, and then what happened when that child was born? And then especially as you grow and develop a relationship with this little beautiful baby, all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, no, there's space in my heart to love more than one. So in my experience, yes, you can love two people at the same time. But I don't know. I don't know if I may have jumped into dating too soon, or if it's just that there's so much going on in my life right now. Because, this girl was so sweet to me about being patient with me and understanding everything I've been through. And, but there's so much going on in my life right now with, I'm moving out of state, that also, like, I was just having a lot of, guilt that, first of all, I had guilt that I was dating someone. I really struggled with that.
Right.
I had guilt that towards Lacey, that I was dating someone else, which is weird, but that was just my reality. And it was hard for me to, I've learned it was very hard for me to pour in to a new relationship and to fully like give myself to that. And so for me, yes, I have learned enough to know that you absolutely can love someone new and love your spouse. I know that to be true. But I don't know if it's just a matter of I'm not ready, or or I just have too much on my mind right now. But I started also feeling guilt towards her, that I couldn't give her all that I am. I couldn't give her who I was to Lacey, and I mean, of course that takes time to be that kind of, be in that kind of relationship. But like, I started feeling like, gosh, I'm like taking her on this roller coaster of my emotions. And, but I I wanted it. I wanted to feel joy again. I wanted to feel happy again. I wanted to feel complete. I wanted my children to have a mother. I wanted to have love again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to the point where I know I love her. Enough to know that you can love two people.
Right.
But it's just not the right time in my life. And right. I need it personally. Like I need a fresh start in my life.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons for that. But one of them that like you and I have talked about before, is that Lacey's cancer was huge in the area where I live. We were in the newspaper, because of like the parade, and people who know people were praying for us. People I didn't even know bringing it in. I mean, it was just a big thing in the community.
Right.
And so there's just this, I feel like, and it's probably made up in my head, but sometimes it's come to fruition, but there's like this stigma that just follows me around of like, I'm that guy who lost his wife. And it's all sweet, really caring people. But there's a certain feeling you get where everywhere you go, every time you see somebody, they're like, oh,
right.
How are you guys doing? Mm-hmm. Oh, I pray for you guys all the time. And it's nothing against them. It's just how it makes me feel. Like, I just want to feel normal.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I don't feel normal. And so there's been this huge feeling that, I want a big change. And I did what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to make any big changes in the first year. I waited. Then I started praying about it. Now I feel good about it. So anyways, I know that's off topic, but it was just something else that was, I think the timing was just wrong, but I did get to experience that. Yes, you can absolutely love one person and still love your spouse. And that should be okay.
It is.
With whomever it is that you in the audience decide to start dating. They need to understand that you still love your spouse. So anyways, how about you? Tell me about your experience with this.
Yeah, I mean, because it's pretty new. It's been a little over a month since we started saying we love each other and just really starting to feel that deep love. And it's been a great experience. And yeah, I have grief a little bit here and there, or just these bizarre moments that I'm like, Luke's gone and I'm with someone else, because we were married 17 years, almost a few months short of 17 years. And so it's just like a surreal moment. Like, what? Like, I'm in Louisiana. I'm like, where am I? How did I get here? What's happening? Why am I in Louisiana of all the places in the world? I can literally say I've never said I want to live it, or even I want to visit Louisiana. I mean, nice people, they're great, but it's just not one of those like high on your priority list.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like, you could tell anybody in the world you're from California, for example, not just because I live here, but or New York, and they know where it is. But Louisiana is not one of those states. I mean,
it's just not.
I think they're famous for Southern cooking and alligators.
And shrimp, like
no, there's
seafood,
a lot of things. There's a lot of
Cajun food.
Cajun food, yeah. It's honestly, I would love to visit there.
No, they're
I think
great
it's really
people.
Cool, but
they're great people. Love you, Louisianians.
Okay, I'm probably gonna get.
What?
Okay, wait.
Let's say it.
Isn't New Orleans?
Yeah. That's
Louisiana?
Yes.
Okay.
That is something there.
I was so hesitant because I was like, I don't want to be wrong about this.
No, that is a
then
big
there's
city.
Baton Rouge, and there is a lot about Louisiana actually.
But I went to a little tiny town called Ruston, Louisiana.
Girl, but that is not where I went.
They don't even have a bowling alley, but they have a movie theater. And it's super cute. It's a college town too. And it's just this cute little town. I mean, I got to throw axes there. They even at least have an axe throwing place, but no bowling. But and it's called
throw something.
The Bayou. That was the name of the place.
Oh, nice.
The axes. Yeah. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. Now all these other places in Louisiana are coming to my mind. So sorry if you're from Louisiana. We're not trying to knock where you live.
We should check how many people from Louisiana, probably just Joel, listen to this podcast. Probably not a lot. Anyways, so just to kind of like give everybody a little refresher in case they want to know about my relationship, like how it all happened. Because people ask me all the time, because I have 12,300 followers on TikTok. I know what. And people ask me all the time, like how I met him, and like, do I know any more like single people? And like they just start curious.
Hey.
Curious about.
Does Joel have any friends?
Literally, they say, does he have any brothers or friends all the time? So anyways, okay. So
I can't accommodate all 12,000 of you.
but I can help a few of you out at a time. So anyways, okay, long story short, I'm gonna give you a short version so we can talk about this subject. But Joel and I met, and this is super cool. So we met in Longview, Texas, and LeTourneau University. It's a huge engineering and aviation school. Why was I there? Well,
good question.
My brother went there first. So my grandpa originally wanted to go there, didn't go there. My dad wanted to go there, didn't go there. So my brother ended up going there for engineering. And I was at a Bible college actually in San Dimas, California, my freshman year. And they added elementary education as a major at LeTourneau and soccer. And I got to go play soccer, collegiate soccer, which was an amazing experience.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I ended up
collegiate?
Collegiate, college soccer, collegiate.
Oh, I never heard that.
Collegiate.
I just totally dropping my education level.
Well, collegiate. I
don't go for all that fancy book learning.
Like you probably could have done like collegiate skateboarding if there was such a thing, maybe.
I don't think there's such a thing.
Okay, well you could, because I know you're.
I understand the word. It just didn't connect.
Okay, yeah. Anyway.
I'm a skater dude.
Someday on one of our what are these Zooms, like on our YouTube, you need to show the people how you.
I'll do a kickflip in the background.
Yeah, or you can also do one that I could put on TikTok. That'd be pretty rad.
That'd be pretty.
Pretty rad.
That's such a pretty move.
No, I was trying to say, I was thinking of the word that you say, and then I was like, rad. That's the one you say. Okay.
Gnarly.
Anyways, gnarly. That's it. Okay. Long story short. So
anyway, sorry.
Okay, but side note, when I was visiting, I flew into Dallas, and he picked me up in his plane and flew me to Longview, Texas, and we went. Well, first of all, I was like, please be cheesy with me. I bought you a Christmas present, and we had matching sweatshirts, and it was like really hot. And I was like, just for me, we put on these so we can take pictures and do videos. And I'm like, you're with a TikTok star, so you gotta, he was such a good sport. And we carried a tripod in his truck everywhere we went. And I'm like, can we please take pictures here? We can please do videos. He was so good about it.
That's cool.
Walking around LeTourneau was like one of the most fun things, because I haven't been there since I graduated. And just like being with him, I just was like, I can't believe we're here. And he's like, I can't believe I'm like with hot Michelle from college. I'm like, yeah, too bad you didn't hit on me then. But whatever. You were too shy. But anyways,
we've all gone down the path that has been laid out for us.
Exactly. And
maybe you guys weren't ready to be in love back then.
Right. And we both had our own lives and our own kids and like all the stuff. So anyways, so in college they had this thing, there's like a loop around campus, and if you walk the loop together, you're official. So he was like, we have to walk the loop so we're official. So we walked around like the whole campus, and it was just like this nostalgic thing and this funny thing, because there was like more dorms, and I'm like, where's my dorm? And like I went like to all of them, like this is it, and I finally figured it out. I'm like, this is it. And then I went to every window. This was we have pictures of me like almost every window. That's it. And then that night I saw my friend Jessie, who stayed in my room a lot, and she was like, no, it was that one. Like she knew which one it was. But anyways, side note, it was just super fun walking around campus with someone I would never like have imagined, like, and here we are. But long story short, so over this summer, I think it was like June, when I connected with him on Facebook, it was like suggested friend, and I wasn't even sure who it was, but I was like, I'll check him out, whatever. So we became friends and just started chatting, did a few FaceTimes, and it was like very just friends for a long time. And then it just kind of, we started talking more and FaceTiming more, and I really liked him and told him one day. And then he was like, yeah, I like you too. And let's just talk. Just like, let's not date anybody else. Let's talk. Let's see what happens long distance. And and then he came to visit me over Thanksgiving, and my kids really, like, everybody got along. And then I just went to see him. And so things are going really well. One of the things that's really important to me as I entered a new relationship is I wanted somebody who could do all these activities and could, all the stuff. And when I was there, we went running, biking, tennis, axe throwing, on walks. Like everything was just like something it wasn't Luke's fault that he couldn't do those things. Sure. But he couldn't. So this time it was very important to me that I date somebody who can have adventures with me.
Yeah, who's active or whatever.
Who's very active. And so it was just an amazing experience. Like the first time, like when he was here, we had so much planned that we didn't get a lot of like downtime. So when I was there, we planned a lot of like, we didn't plan a lot so that we could just have that quality time, talk about our future, make plans, like how are we going to make this work, you know, with long distance and blending families and like all of this stuff. And so um and what I found in this time period is yes, like I'm loving him, but I'm still loving Luke. And like I'll ask him sometimes, is it weird for you? Okay, so for example, here's another little, it was like a grief moment. I woke up, I was, you know, still in Louisiana. I woke up, looked at my phone, and it was like, it's Luke's birthday, which I knew. But that was like I cried, had a little grief moment. I didn't feel like guilt, like I'm with someone else, but it's Luke's birthday. It was just like this moment of looking at pictures and it's his birthday. And I made this post and then I showed it to Joel and he read it and was like, that's beautiful. I go, how does that make you feel? Like, is it weird for you that I'm talking about it? He's like, no, like that's part of who you are and who your kids are. So it's not, he's like, I'm used to, in the very beginning, it was a little strange for him if he'd see a picture of like Luke with his arms around me or like whatever, you know, like, and I'm still, it's not like, it's like something I still post. Like it's current, you know, like it's currently how I feel. Like I still love this man. But he said, no, you know, I'm like, I'm used to it. And this is part of who you are. And so it's really important, widows and widowers, as you look to dating again, that you have to find someone who is secure in themselves, that they're not going to be jealous of you posting about your, you know, your late spouse, visiting the grave, whatever you're going to do, pictures up in the house. Like you have to make sure they're okay with it. If they're not, that is a red flag. That is a deal breaker.
Deal breaker
if they cannot be okay with your late spouse. And so it's been this really amazing, beautiful process and feeling joy like I have not felt in years. And just like that's the biggest thing that I love. And it's not like it takes a man to have joy, but God is using.
Yes, it does. I'm just kidding.
Yes, I'm
just teasing. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But like, you know, I just feel this joy. So I actually just did a video about this today on TikTok about, no, this wasn't the video. I made a post about it recently about how God told me at a grief retreat 2 months after Luke died, like he showed me a vision of myself as like a young girl running across this field. And he said, I'm going to bring your joy back. And I can feel it. And my friends who know me well, and even those who don't, like can tell, like everyone in these pictures are like, you look so happy. I don't know if you've seen some of them, but it's like total joy. Like I posted like the most joyful pictures the other day. And like, I can't put into words how I feel, but these pictures show you how I feel right now. To have this complete, it's like a weight lifted off, like of just these years and years and years of sadness and sorrow and death and sickness, for it to be gone. And I don't have to feel guilty because Luke is even in a better place than me. Like he's felt more joy than me. And so when I think about that, I don't feel guilty that, oh, you know, Luke's not here, I'm with someone else. No, Luke's in a better place than me. Lacey's in a better place than you. Like, I think that might help some people with feeling their guilt. You don't need to feel guilt. Like they are in a better place.
Well, you know, I struggled with it because I would wake up, like actually, I visited Tennessee, and when I was there, I had the dream. So, you know, we have dreams of our spouse.
Yeah.
Most of my dreams have been more like nightmares of like reliving the cancer and that whole time. But every now and then, I mean, I say that every now and then, it's happened like 2 or 3 times, but this last one I had a dream where Lacey wasn't gone. She had went away somewhere and came back in my dream. So it was like, I knew she was gone, but she came back and was like, I can't believe you're with somebody. And I was like, I thought you were gone. Like, I didn't know where you were.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, so I spent the rest of my dream trying to get her back.
Oh, wow.
And it had just gotten to a point where she was looking at me in the same way. We were smiling, you know, giving each other that husband and wife loving smile. And it was like, I knew I had won her back. Then I woke up and I had to remember again that she was gone.
That's so hard.
Those are the worst dreams. And that one stuck with me for like a week. But yeah, the other kinds of dreams I wake up from and I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, thank you, God, that we're not like living that hell anymore. So I do understand the guilt because I've lived it very much myself. Some days I feel great. Other days I feel like just a piece of garbage for even being with somebody that. So I wanted to ask you, unrelated to that. So with Lacey and I, our marriage was complete. Everything was complete in our marriage. We absolutely adored each other in every way. And I'm not saying you and Luke didn't, but the physical aspect of it. So I guess what I'm getting at here is, in my next spouse, there's nothing that I would particularly be looking for that's different. Whereas you are looking for obviously somebody that's more physically, and that's not Luke's fault. And I'm not saying anything, of course. I hope it doesn't sound that way, but
no, it doesn't.
That's just the reality, is that he, most of your marriage was him being sick.
Right.
So do you wrestle with any kind of guilt for looking for someone different, even though it's in a physical way?
No.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, because I've kind of wondered that, is like, do you struggle with the fact that you're looking for something different?
No, because it wasn't something he could help. Like,
right. Yeah.
But
no,
do I want someone who has cancer and is sick? No.
No, of course not. Of course not that.
Like, but I'm not, I guess can you clarify like a little bit what you mean?
Yeah, I guess I just mean, like, generally speaking, you said that you were looking, and I guess I don't know exactly how to formulate it, but I just wondered that when you said it, if, like, because you're like, I don't want, and of course it wouldn't be cancer. And I know it's kind of a weird comparison because he was unable to. So I guess it would have been a better question for somebody whose husband just didn't like hiking or didn't like things like that. And so I just wondered when you said it, like, oh, I wonder if, because I have felt guilt for many reasons. But Lacey was only sick for the last, year, a little over a year of our marriage. And so while you had this 17 years of fighting with cancer.
Yep.
And so obviously I know you wouldn't hope, to be with someone with cancer, but it just made me curious if it brought you any like grief about looking for somebody that could do something that Luke couldn't. And I guess that's kind of a weird way to say it, but maybe you understand a little more what I'm saying. Yeah. I guess it would be more like a better question for somebody whose husband didn't, like I said, didn't enjoy the things that you enjoyed, but for him it was more like he couldn't do it. So I guess it's kind of a dumb question, but it just kind of popped in my mind.
No, it's not dumb, but I think that I never wrestled with that because also, and I know I've told you this before, also at the same grief retreat, I felt like God said, I'm going to redeem and restore everything you ever lost in your marriage, and I lost those years of being even able to do double dates or even able, to go on walks or like, so I don't feel guilty. I feel like God has blessed me with another chance.
And I guess a better word than guilt would have been grief. Just to clarify that also, did it make you feel grief that it was just kind of not a well thought out question. I just thought of it like as you were talking. So I didn't know exactly how to formulate it, but it was just something that crossed my mind as I was like, oh, I wonder if that like brought her grief to.
Yeah, not really. Actually, not at all.
That's good. And nor should it, but it's just kind of an interesting thought because for me, I've kind of struggled on the opposite side of it, is that, I mean, I would love to find, and I know it's not real, I would love to find someone that's exactly like Lacey.
Right.
In every way. And so it's just, I guess it was just something that just crossed my mind because I know you guys had, struggled with that like he couldn't physically do stuff. And, this breaks my heart to remember, some of the stories you've told in some of these episodes. And so anyways, it just made me think of that, is that we're kind of in a different boat that way. And I like to do that whenever we get the chance, is to like contrast the differences that we, with again, like Lacey's cancer being diagnosed out of nowhere and going downhill real fast. And then yours being a very prolonged, always part of your marriage, always kind of thing. And so it just made me wonder that. Anyway, sorry if that came across wrong.
No, it didn't, not at all.
Being sensitive or whatever.
Nope, it's good. And I feel like you don't want to look for your spouse exactly, but there's nothing wrong with like, I want a person with this characteristic. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the same. And I mean, it sounds dumb, but I did this. Like, I wrote a list like 4 or 5 months after Luke died, just like I did when I was a teenager, what I
Mm-hmm.
was looking for of the qualities, not the specific person, didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be. And literally Joel is everything.
That's
Down to
awesome.
the accent. Like all of it. And so I think like having a list, but still having room, because I did listen to a sermon called Tear Up the List. Like
Mm.
God might give you something different, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having characteristics and knowing you may not get everything on the list. Does he play guitar? I don't think he plays guitar. Well, he used to be in a band, so maybe he does. I don't know. That was on my list. Like, oh, so maybe not every little thing, like being a singer and stuff, but just know you can make a list. Doesn't mean you're going to get everything, but I don't think there's anything wrong with like, I liked this quality from my spouse. I'd really like this.
Mm.
And, if there are things that were difficult, it's like you get another chance to have love again. And it's also different. We talked about this a lot. So we actually got to meet with, he has a mentor he meets with, and we got to meet with his mentor and his mentor's wife, and it was really awesome. And we were telling them about how dating in your 40s is so different than your 20s, but you have a
Yeah.
more realistic expectation of marriage. That it's not like, oh, we're going to get married and every day is going to be sunshine and roses. And like the way that I was at 24 when I got married, thinking it was going to be awesome every day. I mean, and yes, there were a lot of great memories, but you live with anybody. There's going to be,
Well, it's work. You have to put in
it's a
work. So of course
relationship,
it's not. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so, something that's definitely different is you're coming in with, you've already had marriage. You're coming in usually with kids, both of you. You're
Mm-hmm.
coming in with baggage, possibly, if they are someone that's divorced, especially. There's and all of us have our own baggage, no matter what.
Right.
And we have baggage from watching our spouses die. Like, there's baggage. And so it's like, it's much different, but it's much more serious,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually this book that Joel and I are reading that I've read before called Relationship Goals, by Pastor Michael Todd. I'll put a link in the description. He talks about intentional dating, and like
Mm.
really, like I feel like that's kind of, like I've been talking to my kids a lot. I'm trying to like be very real with them about how serious this is, which my boys are still having a little bit of a problem with it. Not a problem. They're just thinking about what the future could look like and how would that affect them and stuff like that.
They're probably more so trying to get used to it.
Yeah.
It's got to be weird.
It is. And I've told them that I don't get it. Like, I have never lost a parent, but I can imagine what you're feeling. It's really weird for you that I'm talking about some other guy, and like there is a future, a possibility, our future is blending together. And, but like, because one of them kind of likes to deny that it's happening. I'm like, he's like, he's not your boyfriend. I'm like, yeah, he is. Well, it's not going to work, and then my youngest one said, you don't know that, because I'm like, I'm with him. And he's like, well, you don't know the future. He could turn on you. Guys do that, It's more like of a protective thing.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
wanting to protect me from, what could happen, and maybe even their own hearts, getting attached to somebody that could leave. So that's been
or die.
Exactly. Like,
they have their own battle that they're going through or whatever.
Right. And I had some grief today. I had some, issues, like behavior issues that I wish Luke was here for. And I even had this. So I had a lot of grief today about that, because it was like, man, I wish he was here to help with this. And then I was like, this is why. And then I was just thinking about Joel and like the possibility of getting hurt. Like either something goes wrong in the relationship or he dies. And then I'm hurt again. So I understand why some widows never want to date again. And that's okay. If that's you, that is 100% okay. But for me personally, I still go by, it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. And I would rather put myself out there, risk being hurt, because I mean, it's out there to the world now. Like, I'm very public about this relationship. I'm very public about how I feel about him. And yeah, I could get hurt, and I would be publicly, but I'm just trusting the process every day. I don't believe that I'm going to get hurt.
I've been afraid of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been partially afraid of that, of like, because I'm more of a private person anyways, but I've been afraid of, you know, and I'm just realizing this right now, but like subconsciously, I've been afraid of like, I think pouring into someone and it not working out, you know, because, you know, it's different at this stage of life because it's not just about us.
Right.
You know, you're looking for somebody that's going to accept the role as father, in addition to being, you know, obviously, you know, husband would come first, but it's somebody that's going to accept the role as father. And so that's why also dating is so much different at this stage of life, because you're looking for a parent also. You know, you're testing them, you're not testing them, but you're, you know, feeling out how they parent. And
right,
you know, it's part of it. It's totally part of it. And even if someone, you know, is a good parent, it's still just another part of it so that's why it's sometimes overwhelming for me to think about like the next chapter of life, because you're accepting that person is going to raise your children or parent your children and give your children advice and things like that. And so it's kind of like these questions come up of like, well, what point, you know, for example, with Joel, like, well, at what point will it go from, you know, him being mom's boyfriend to maybe mom's husband to our dad? Right. You know, like how do those steps occur? And at what, you know, and I'm sure it's just like growing a relationship, but these are the things that like we never had to think about because we had our right. children with our spouses.
Yeah.
And now it's like all of a sudden like this whole new dynamic.
Oh, it's huge. And yeah, my kids are thinking about it. Like I've had a lot of talks with Peyton about it recently, and he's having the kind of struggling more with it. And like he's like, well, if you guys got married and he lived here, it would be awkward. It would be weird to have another person who would change everything. I'm like, well, it might be at first. Well, first of all, you're going to get to know him better before then. And second of all, like, you know, it would become normal. Like it's hard to picture it right now because you don't know him that well, you know, so there's a lot when you're dealing with kids.
For sure. And I dealt with that as a child. My mom, you know, my dad left when I was young, so I didn't know having a father, but my mom was with this guy in a serious relationship. I don't know, maybe when I was like 10, somewhere around that age. And they were together, I'd guess, for a couple years. And it was weird because he just came in as this strict dad. Even as boyfriend, he was this very disciplined. We didn't like him. I mean, he was very mean to us. And so, but it was all of a sudden, like everything changed. Like mom wasn't our mom anymore. Mom was under the control of this man. And so it was like kind of a weird, so, you know, I do get from the child's perspective what it's like for somebody to come in and change the whole dynamic. Fortunately, Joel's a really good guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure they will, you know, love him very quickly. But yeah, it's just interesting. It's just really, and these are the things people wonder. I mean, these were the things that were going through my mind at first that I was like, I will never, like, how do you start a new life with somebody? You know, how is someone going to love me and love my kids? And, you know, anyways, it's this whole thing is just such a weird life sometimes.
Yes. And something that I've been assuring them is that he will never take their dad's place. And kind of where they're at, they're all teenagers. Like Peyton's going to turn 14 this month. So about 4 years, we'll all be grown-ups. Like I said, he's going to be more like another support person in your life. Another, you know, family member, you know, on your team, rooting for you, helping you know, and so I've been saying that, and that it's not, and then I've also been assuring them, like, this doesn't mean that I love your dad any less, because they asked some deep questions the other day, like New Year's Eve, and they were like, hey, Peyton was like, I just wish I had a time machine. I'm like, for what? And he's like, go back to the good old days with daddy. And I was like, yeah. And then he goes, but you're all serious with Joel now. I said, yeah. And then Haley was like, well, who do you love more? Like, well, who do you love more? I said, well, I was with your dad 17 years. So, I mean, at this point, your dad, but it's totally different. Like, I can't compare it. It's not like that. They're two different loves. but like, would you go back if you could? And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, it's such a deep conversation.
Yeah.
Of like, they've really been thinking about this stuff a lot since I've been seeing Joel more. And just like deep questions. I'm like, but I don't have that option. So I'd bring it back to, but I don't have that option. Like, of course, like, yeah, Peyton was like, would you have ever got divorced? I'm like, no, like we never even talked about it ever. Like, it was never an option. We would never got divorced. He's like, so you'd still be with him? I'm like, yeah, I would. Like, if he was still alive, I would still be married to him, you know? And it's just a big concept for them to really like grasp, but like that I don't love your dad any less. He's still super important to me. And Joel's good with that. And I talk about him to Joel. And you know, so it's this being in a serious relationship and then having teenagers, and it's interesting. And
what a different dynamic having teenagers.
Yes.
You know, like your kids understand everything that's going on, and I'm still like explaining stuff, you know what I mean? Like I had to explain to my daughter why dating didn't mean we were getting married next week, you know?
Right.
So like they don't have the same concept as your kids do. So that's interesting. And these are the things I'm talking about. Like I really like contrasting the differences, even though our situations are very similar in many ways. There's also many ways where it's very different, but it's such a deep and dynamic situation for everybody listening. We all have these really complicated situations. It's just interesting to it'd be good to have Stacy back on and ask her some of these questions, like because like when you were serious with, I think her second husband's name was Mark,
it was,
and her first was
Ryan?
I can see it on your face. I said Brian. That was my guess.
It's
too.
Ryan.
Yes, Ryan. There you go.
Ryan.
That's right.
We got it. Okay.
Gotcha, Stacy. Sorry. Anyways, it'd be interesting to ask her, like when you were well into your marriage with Mark, if your kids asked you right now, who would you rather be married to? I mean, that's just such a hard question because I mean, how do you even answer that? Because it's like, well, I didn't create this situation, you know, I'm just doing the best I can with the hand I've been dealt.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now it was easier for me to say, well, I've been, with Joel a couple months. I was with your dad for 17 years. So of course I love him more because I was with them so long, but they're different. They cannot
But you're
compare.
Still young enough at 29.
Right.
That you could very easily be married to Joel if you guys get married. You know, I'm not throwing Joel on the spot here or whatever, but like if you guys get married, you could very easily be married longer than you and Luke were married.
That's true.
And so it's just interesting to think about this stuff because I was married. Lacey and I were also together 17 years, but we were married for 12. So I very easily could be married to somebody longer, but I'm old now at 42.
I know, old man.
I better hurry up and get married or I'm not going to have that opportunity. But no, but it's hard for me at this point to ever imagine loving somebody like I loved Lacey. But, I don't know. I've heard so many people say that they felt that at one point too.
Yep.
And that they were wrong. And I mean, I hope that's the case. I hope that I, am able to love even more than I love Lacey. I mean, it's hard to imagine. It really is because I just absolutely adored everything about her. She was just amazing. It's hard to imagine, but yeah, of course I want to love somebody even more than that. Sure. Like, because then that would mean I have another amazing marriage,
Something that Joel and I talked about a lot about this last week when I was visiting is that when you've been through tragedy, you've been through hard times, you appreciate joy so much more. And I'm like a million times more joyful because I've been through death and he's been through his own hard stuff. And so to be in a place where you're feeling this like joy and love, like giddy love, like laughing all the time, like 24/7, like you're just laughing and like it's just so amazing, like to be at that place after watching your spouse die. It's just like such a contrast. And it's like, but I also don't want to, because a couple of people have commented on my TikToks and they're taking this the wrong way. You don't need a man or you don't need a woman to make you joyful. God can heal your heart.
Right.
And I think it is actually healthy. Like I was already joyful before Joel. Like I was already healing and doing things. And, I think it's healthy to be at a place where you're already healed and then they just enhance the joy. and that you're not relying on that person for your joy. God is the only one who can give you that indescribable joy, indescribable peace. I want to make sure people know that too, because I guess a couple people misinterpreted like what I was saying as like, I don't need a man to be joyful and I don't need a man. I'm like, no, you don't. You're right. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry if it sounded like that, but they can just like enhance it. So I think being in a healthy place of your healing. I also get the question, I just answered this on TikTok the other day, like, how do you know when you're ready to date? And I said, for me, it was like when I was already healed, like I've said this before, in the beginning, it was like cloudy days, a little bit of sunshine. And then it turned around to like mostly sunshine, sometimes cloudy days. And when I didn't feel guilt for dating, then I knew I was ready. In the very beginning, when I started like talking to men and stuff, I felt guilt. But then eventually, like I got to a place where I'm not feeling guilt at all. And that I was already having mostly sunny days. Like I wouldn't want to step into a relationship if I was having grief most days. I don't think it's fair to the other person to be in a place where you're having grief most days.
Right. And I'd say I'm also in a place where I'm not feeling grief every day.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know if it's because I'm like doing all this packing and stuff and going through a lot of stuff that I've been feeling it a lot more, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It is interesting though, because we do. And I know you're right. You weren't stricken with grief. And we both come to good places where I feel like, we're both doing pretty well as for, what we've been through and stuff. But yeah, it is interesting to think about like bringing somebody else into this when you're still having grief, because I did that. And I still, even though it's the days are fewer and further between,
right.
There were just many things that just seeing her with my kids sometimes was just, it just felt unfair to Lacey, and it was nothing against her. She was being really sweet to him, and they were having a blast. The kids are laughing, having a good time. And I'd just be kind of sitting there like, oh man, I wish Lacey could see this or whatever, and so it probably is a little unfair. And that's honestly one of the things I felt guilty about, is that I was probably not ready. I don't know how much longer until I am ready, but that's the interesting thing about grief, is it's such a different emotion. Everybody experiences the same feelings with anger. Everybody experiences the same feelings with joy, with whatever the emotion might be. Grief is completely different for everybody. It's so weird. It
is. It's so
some people go 5 years, 10 years, and they still are like crying like very often or whatever. Grief is just such a weird emotion. It's totally different from, and like I've mentioned in other podcasts, there's opposites of every other emotion. You have anger, well, you have joy, you have sadness, you have, happiness, whatever. Grief, there's like no opposite of it. It's just, you have grief, and it's just such a weird, some days you're fine, some days you're not. And it's just, it's weird road we've been placed down, but God put us all here for a reason. We all are about doing the kingdom work.
Right.
And if there's something to be done for the kingdom here, then there's, I personally am, I'm open to that. And if this road that we've been chosen, like our other episode said, to walk down, if the Lord put us in this situation knowingly, then he's going to provide. He's going to provide redemption for us. I believe. And, like if you look at the book of Job, like so many widows and widowers are very familiar with the book of Job.
Yeah.
Because we do understand the feelings of, maybe not as intense as what Job went through, but we definitely understand the feeling of just having everything ripped away from you.
Oh yeah.
And, having to like start over, and it sucks.
Yes.
Anyways, sorry. I didn't mean to...
And about grief, I can see it in my kids, comes out in so many different ways. Like they all experience it differently, and they all express themselves differently. So for Christmas, I got Haley a piano. And that's something she's asked for years. I was able to get a used one for like $100, and she's been writing more songs. And one of her songs, it's called Don't They Know, and it's something about how everyone's life keeps going and her world stopped. And it's just this beautiful song. So it's just interesting to see how she deals with her emotions and what she's feeling through music, and just how
That's
they all
awesome.
express it differently. Yeah. And I've loved, like, she's playing worship songs all the time. And I love hearing the music through the house. And
That's really cool.
it's been really
What a
awesome.
gift to yourself too,
I
like
know.
unknowingly.
It's like really awesome. But just to see how all our kids deal with things and how we deal with them. I deal a lot with, I journal a lot, and that
Mm.
helps me just get it out. And then I love looking back and just seeing where I've grown and what situations have changed. And that's always been a huge thing for me, is journaling to get all these feelings out. And I've been doing that a lot about dating again, and like where I'm at with Joel, and like what does this feel like and what am I feeling, and like being very, I think it's really important to be in touch with your feelings and like, what we feel we can heal. And just creating an environment in your home too for your kids to be able to talk about it, because your kids, even though they're young, they're still going to be dealing with this for their whole life, when other people's moms are there, or, just
Right.
things that are going to bring it up. And so creating an environment where they always feel safe. And I know you do this. I know you talk about Lacey a lot with your kids, where they always feel safe to talk about her. And my kids always feel safe to talk about Luke and how they're feeling. And, just, yeah. So it's kind of off the topic of.
No, that's good. And I would actually love to, I don't know if you posted it, but I would love to hear that song Haley wrote. Not necessarily, she doesn't have to sing it, but like just to read the lyrics would be really cool. Cause I've felt that. I've felt that a lot before, where it's like, wow, like things just keep going for everybody else. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's life. That's the way it is. But for us, it's like, it's not back to normal.
Right.
It's not yesterday's news anymore, and that's kind of how it feels like that it is for other people sometimes, is that it's yesterday's news, and it's like, it's not a part of their lives anymore.
Right.
And it is for us, and it is every single day, every hour of every day. That, I was just telling somebody that there's, it's very difficult for me, no matter how much I've changed I've painted the whole inside of my house. I've painted the outside. I've rearranged. I've put in new curtains. I've done a lot to change the feel of my house. I was just telling somebody this, I can't walk down my hallway to my bedroom without remembering a gurney wheeling out the other direction. And that's every single time, time. Or there's special places in my house that they're not special places. The next person to buy my house, that's just going to be the laundry room. But for me, it's this place where I remember, like, I would sometimes like grab Lacey and like yank her back, and it was something we'd like laugh about. And I would like close the door, like we'd let the kids walk in, and then I'd grab her and pull her back and close the door so I could give her a kiss. And it was like, the kids are away. Let's share a moment here. And now I walk through that laundry room alone, and it's just one of those things that it's like, no matter what, it's still there for you all the time. And that's, one of the reasons I want like a fresh start, is to have new memories created. But the point of it is that I would be interested to like read the lyrics that she wrote. And, because I do feel that. I feel that when you're talking to people, and everything's normal for them, and that's great. I'm happy that they don't have this cloud over their lives, and not necessarily like a cloud of like, I live in depression or anything, but like just this cloud that just surrounds you of like, you, no matter how much joy you're feeling, there's still like reminders everywhere. And so it'd be interesting to, and if I have people over to my house, they don't remember Lacey standing in front of the stove making dinner for me or whatever, like just the little things like that they just constantly like. So anyways, it'd just be interesting to hear her words, because I know she's very, very talented, and it'd just be cool to see what she wrote. What it's like for her to express those feelings. So
I'll ask her if we can do that. And speaking from experience, moving was one of the best things I did for my grief. Oh, yes, because I had flashbacks every day of him dying. Like every day, the death scene went through my head where he died. I have memories everywhere. Yes, there were good memories too. And I did cry when I sold it. It was hard. But starting in a place like I think it makes me miss him less because he never lived in this house. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any memories of him in this house. The kids don't have any memories, which, there's some sad in that too, but it's a fresh start. I think you're going to love it. I'm sure you will have mixed emotions when you leave. It's very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
walked through crying and just remembering, like feeling guilty about leaving where we had our home and all of it. But
Right.
it was one of the best things. And I know it's not possible for everyone, but just from speaking from experience, and I did not wait a year. But I had already known I was going to move, and
Yeah, it was a little bit of a different
yeah,
situation.
I knew that I wanted to do that to move closer to my family and all of that. But just being in a new environment, I tell that to people all the time. Like it was one of the best things I did for the grieving process is to move forward, especially if it's the home that your loved one died in.
Mm-hmm.
Because that memory, and it was such a, like, I'm the only one who saw him struggle, but that memory would always come back to my head.
Right.
I mean, I can still recall it now, but I don't walk by and see
Right.
it.
I mean, it was, not to be too crass, but it was right behind me.
Right. And that's where it was for, on our bed in our bedroom.
Yeah.
And like just every day seeing that and the whole scene play out again. And like it was huge for me because I changed my bedroom, I changed stuff, but it was still, the memories were still there. So I think this is going to be so big for you to have a new start. Like I'm really excited for you.
Thanks. I'm super excited. The more I think about it, the more excited I'm getting. It just sounds, I know how it was when I moved just one county away to here. Yeah. So I moved from everything I knew an hour away. And there was a little bit of weird feeling at first, like not knowing the city and not knowing where the things were or whatever, but you figure it out. And then I realized that it was one of the best things that we ever did was move to this house. Yeah. As a married couple. And so, I am excited about it. I'm excited for the new adventure. I'm excited to start a new way of life, yes. Just all kinds of things that I feel like I just need. And I waited, I prayed. I feel like I, have weighed out the pros and cons very methodically because there is this feeling that, if you do this with a spouse, I'm moving across the country. If you do this with a spouse and you realize it's a mistake, that's a mistake that you guys own together.
Yeah.
And there's something comforting in saying we made a mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
It's scary to possibly admit I made a mistake.
Right.
But it's like I was talking to my mother-in-law and a couple other people, and they just were really encouraging and helping me weigh out pros and cons. And just also like something my mother-in-law said was like, it was over a long conversation, so she wasn't just like blunt about it, but she said like, I want you to like be confident in this. I want you to like just own it, like make it like your decision. And It kind of gave me goosebumps as she was saying it, because I was like, yeah, like I'm worried too much about what other people think. And I know this isn't on the topic of dating.
It's okay.
But it just I started getting like excited to like do this on my own and build my own home with my kids, because I never would have wanted that, but that's where I am right now.
Exactly.
And I need to do this. I need to start this new life and be away from, going to the grocery store and somebody telling me, oh, you're the guy that lost his wife. I'm like, I don't even know you, you know, and my kids are with me. Like, that's it was really sweet. She was coming from a place of compassion, but it was like, that's weird. Just let me be a customer. Just let me ring up my groceries and go home, so I know a lot of people can relate to that. That is just like, you become this person that like, you have this label on you, of like widowed, and where everywhere you go, everyone like feels sorry for you, and it's all good stuff. They're really sweet people to care. I'd rather that than people don't care,
exactly.
But it is kind of exciting. So anyways, back to your point, that's cool to hear you say, because I am feeling very encouraged and very motivated to do it, because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yes, like, I want to get out of here. Like, I want to get out of here. I want a fresh start. And it's pretty exciting. I know there'll be difficulties that come with it, but I've put a lot of effort into thinking about it, and the pros far outweigh the cons in my mind. And that's, that should tell me something. The biggest con is fear. And I'm not gonna I'm trying really hard to not live my life in fear and
That's
to just
so
press forward, anyways. I'm sorry I hijacked the conversation.
No, it's all good. These are real life things that we aren't the only ones dealing with and thinking about moving and just all of it. And so, I think we can offer very unique perspectives to our audiences, being a widow and a widower, facing different things with different ages of kids and all of it, So I would say, just like, to wrap it up, I think we've answered the question. Can you love two people at once? Like, romantically love two people at once? The answer is yes. It's just like your heart expanding to love more than one child. You will love them in different ways, and I think it's really important to not compare. Especially like when talking to your new person, comparing. I mean, sometimes I'll be like, oh, like, Joel is left-handed, Luke was left-handed. Like, I'll say, oh, like, Luke was, some things I'll be like, oh, that was like Luke, you're 6 feet tall, like Luke was 6 feet tall, like, just like little things, but I'm not trying to compare. I mean, I think, okay, honestly, like, sometimes in your head, some things do cross your mind, like whether this is the same or this is different, but I'm not looking to compare one better than the other. They're just different.
Just things you observe or whatever.
Just things you observe that sometimes you're like, oh, that's the same. Like, I think you would do that in any relationship. Like, this is the same as that relationship. Sure. This is different. And just kind of observing that. Like, for example, I tend to be a little bit passionate and a little bit like up and down and with my moods and blah, blah, blah. And like Luke would always be like, you're like the stock market, you go up and down, and I'm just steady. And I see that in Joel too. He's the steady one. And he's the one who's like, I'm boring, you're fun, you make my life fun. And Luke would always say that. Luke would always be like, life is never boring with you. And like, you make me have fun. And Joel's like saying the same things to me. And so I can see like the similarities in the personality types. Because I need that. I need a steady person to keep me on track when I'm like all over the place with my emotions and how I feel. And, like, I have noticed this, like, so I would be like, Luke, aren't you excited? And he'd be like, this is me excited. And Joel did the same thing. I'm like, Joel, aren't you excited? He's like, this is me excited. Like, they just don't have the big ups and downs like I do. And that's the type of person I need. Like, someone who, and that's how my dad is. Like, he's very steady and always help me, it's just like, that's the kind of person I need in my life. And
well, it's like the great theologian Paula Abdul said, opposites attract.
Could you please sing that for us?
Opposites attract. I think that's Paula Abdul. Is it?
I think so.
I think so.
You better look that up real quick.
Oh gosh.
You look it up while I'm talking, because it's gonna bother. It's gonna bother our audience.
It's gonna bother us, yes. Especially if I'm wrong. They're like, no,
I don't know.
No.
They're like, Mark, I thought you knew these.
I know,
opposites
right?
attract. But anyways, I'll text you while you look that up. I think it does like naturally happen. You think something's the same or different, but like, I need a certain type of person to be compatible with, and like him and Luke have some of those things in common. So I do appreciate that.
No, that is a good thing. And yes, it was the great theologian Paul Abdul.
You did it. Good job.
But yeah, no, that's really interesting though, because it's true. They are just observations. You're not comparing.
Yes, right, exactly.
Because that's not fair to the new person, so to speak.
Right.
Especially if it's like in a negative light, if you're like, oh, well, he used to do this for me or whatever, like, you can't do that. And it's always been something important to me. Well, not always, but, since I decided that I, was interested in dating again, it was very important to me that I never made somebody feel like second best. I may have done that unintentionally sometimes, hopefully not, but, it was very important to me because that's just so unfair to like make somebody feel like second best. So I never wanted to do that, but, you might have your feelings inside about, oh, I liked that he did this better. I like that, for me, I like that she did this better or whatever, or, oh, I like that she does this or whatever. But, you just, like you said, you have to be willing to accept that it's something totally new and different. And that's sometimes where a struggle can come from, is you're so used to, especially, compared to some of our audience, we were still babies in our marriage. So some of these people that have been married for like 40 years plus, they're like, no, like, I mean, that would be like impossible to not compare, because this was my life, and so it's just kind of an interesting road we're walking down here. But yeah, I agree with you and fully concur that you absolutely can love two people at the same time. And just to give some people encouragement out there and hope that are kind of wondering what this next chapter of your life is going to look like, and wondering a lot of the things that we've discussed, that we've been through, that you absolutely can love someone again. And if you're still in that phase where you don't even want to think about it, that very likely could change over time, and it's absolutely okay. But don't get like I did, where you think about never loving somebody again and letting it like discourage you, because it used to bring me to a very dark and lonely place where I would just think like, I'm going to be alone forever. And it's also scary when you have young kids, it's scary for all ages, but I'm just speaking from my experience. It's scary when you have young kids, because you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm raising these kids by myself now, like it's from now on. And not only that, there's so many things that I don't know how to do that Lacey did, but there's just so many things that she was extremely better than me at, that I was like, oh my gosh, like for example, homeschooling. I've been trying my best to homeschool my kids, and I'm doing the best I can, but I'm like, man, Lacey would have been so good at this. And, so there's just those things too. But so, yeah, if you're in that place of feeling like I'll never love somebody again, don't let yourself spiral down that road too much, because I was there. I was 100% convinced I would never love somebody again. I would never be with anybody again. And things change, your feelings change. People change. Sorry.
Good job.
You know how I am. I'm sorry. So line pops in my head. It's a song. But just to know that things change, your feelings change, no matter how strongly you feel about something right now. You may not feel that way in 6 months. Michelle and I have encountered that with each other a lot, because we've known each other, what, about a year now?
Yeah. I mean, we met like a year and a half, but really started getting to know each other about a year ago. It was like January of last year. So
okay. Yeah, that sounds right. So we've seen each other go through a lot of different phases and philosophies and thoughts. And I bet if you listen back to some of our early podcast episodes, you'd see the difference, because we've been doing this for since May. You're so much better with the timeline. Oh my gosh, you even remember the month? That's
May the 4th, because I remember it was like May the 4th be with you. It was May 4th.
Wow. I don't know how I didn't remember that.
So June,
wow,
July, August,
that's
September,
impressive.
October, November, December, January. Whoa, we are on month 8 already.
Wow, really?
This is 8 months. Tomorrow will be 8 months. Crazy.
Wow.
Time flew.
Yeah.
It's like we just literally started, and we had like a really bad sound system. So if you go back to the first few episodes, it sounds really horrible.
I know that in the episode where I tell my story, the first episode, there's this about 15 seconds of just like, first the like microphone like speeds up super fast, and then it just goes silent for like 10 seconds. I'm like, I wonder how many people got to that point and they're like, oh, it must be over. But we were learning, we were learning how to do it. Yeah. So it's, we got much higher quality. We've dropped some serious dough on Amazon trying to get better equipment.
Yes. And it's been great. Like
it has. What an experience.
How many countries are we in now?
Last I counted 42 countries.
That's insane.
42 countries.
Thank you, listeners.
Yes.
Listeners, thank you. And like, that's really our goal with starting this, is like, hey, we've got these unique widow and widower perspectives. We want to help other people. And so thank you for the people that have given us feedback and let us know that this is helping you. It's also helping us. It's kind of like a counseling session. I mean, like we talk through our stuff and like are able to share our stories and know that they're helping others. And it's been an amazing, amazing experience. And by the way, Happy New Year, everybody. 2022.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year. That's
it
also,
is.
a little weird for me going into a new year without Luke too. It just feels a little weird. It's just
like it is, because I realized that the other day as I was like, whoa, like Lacey never was in one day of 2021. Like she never experienced 2021.
Right. And Luke,
those things are weird. And I remember thinking that last New Year's, like, whoa, she's never gonna experience this year. And it's just, I don't know. It's not like, I mean, that happens for everybody that passes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's when time stops for them, and God knew that time. But it's just weird. Like there's some things like that you just.
Well, even when we were talking about Luke's birthday, I was to the kids, I was like, he would have been 42 and 44. Peyton's like, but he was 42. I'm like, well, that's when he died. He was 42. But if he was alive today, he would be 44. It was just a weird, he's frozen in time at that age forever because he never got any older. It's weird. Yeah. And
I never thought about that.
This will be the first year. I mean, except for I'm really 29, but let's pretend I wasn't. This would be the first year in March that I will turn older than he was when he died, which is
wow,
because he was 42 and
I'm
42
and you're 29
currently. Yeah, but if I had an age and it was 42, then I would be turning a little bit older than him this year. So I know
that's weird. I never thought about that because I was older than Lacey.
Yeah, you were always like way older.
Yeah. Well, take it easy with the way older.
I mean,
you're like way older.
No, were you like?
Anyways, no, yeah, I was 6 years old. I'm just teasing. I was totally older than her.
Yeah, and I'm always younger than Luke.
Yeah, it's so crazy for me. Total topic change, but I wanted to look this up. It's crazy for me to look at all these countries that are people listening. So somebody listened from Belarus, somebody listened from Turkey, French Polynesia.
Oh my goodness.
There's Bahamas, Japan, but like some of these ones that are like Thailand, that's a newer one, Romania. It's just, we're so grateful for all you guys spending time listening to us. It's just incredible. I see all these countries and some of them I never even heard of, but this person must be listening a lot because they jumped way up the list. The Republic of Moldova.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that either. But usually when that happens, I'll go on Google and look it up and try to see where it is in the world. But I just find it so fascinating that you guys want to listen to us, and
I know
we're really grateful. Thank you. It's
Thank you.
Obviously we're not getting paid to do this or anything, but it's still it's just still inspiring, and it pushes us to keep doing it when we get these messages that we're helping you guys and stuff. And so in closing, like we mentioned a little bit ago, but Michelle and I can't stress enough that we would love to have any of you on as guests.
Yes.
To tell your stories, tell us, come and tell us where you disagree with us, not in any confrontational way, but just where things you have different experiences than us. And because as a community, we want to help people. And, we've expressed before that we can help people so much better when there's more people that others relate to. Like Michelle, you mentioned getting a message that somebody related to a guest we had.
Yes.
And that's always so encouraging for us that we're doing this ministry. And we felt led from the beginning that God wanted us to do this, even though I was afraid. I was like, oh, I don't know. I feel weird. Nobody wants to listen to me. And maybe they don't, maybe they're here for you, but
I think it's both of us.
But it is interesting to just look back in gratefulness that we did start this because of all the encouraging messages we've got. So, anyways, any final thoughts on loving multiple people at once? That sounds bad. You know what I mean?
Sound bad. Just that it's possible, but yet you don't have to. I don't want people to feel like you have to love someone. Some people never want to be married again, and that's okay, or date again. So totally wherever you're at, that's my big thing I've been stressing too, on TikTok too, is that wherever you're at is okay. If you want to love again, great. If you don't, it's okay. Mm-hmm. So and it's it's been a beautiful experience, and I'm so thankful I took this risk of, first of all, it's long distance, which is super hard. And then just loving again is hard and putting yourself out there, and it's so scary, but it's also so exciting. And I would rather be here with, my heart is risked right now, but I pray about it all the time, and I feel total peace about this relationship, and we pray together about it. And
that's great.
We pray every night, and really just ask God to for direction and everything. And I know that if it's right, it will continue to work towards us having a future where we can live in the same area, not halfway across the country.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I just want
it'll happen
in its own time, and just being patient and it's a lot because you've got your kids. That's a huge part of this.
Sure.
How that's going to affect them. Anyways, the point is, yes, you can love two people at once. I love Luke and I love Joel. Mic drop. That's the truth.
Boom. And I'll just say, I don't know Joel, but he sounds like a really, really incredible man. And
he is.
like, I really feel like, just like the way you talk about him, explain him, I'm like, I would be good friends with that dude.
I think so.
I can just tell.
Maybe
he doesn't use the word dude, but
nope, not so much. No.
But no, that would, I was gonna say bloke, but no, that's like more like British, right?
Yeah, not Brazilian.
Brazil, yeah, I don't know what they call
Brazil.
Dudes. What do they call dudes?
Sure, I'll ask him. What do you say, dude?
Probably just guys or something. But so on that note, funny, totally random. So you and I have talked about actually on air.
Okay.
When I talked about a beanie, you wear a beanie on your head for warmth, and you said no, it's a cap, and I said no, a cap is like a baseball cap, and you said no, that's a hat. So different, geographically wherever you are, they say different things. So in Tennessee, I asked this woman, hey, how much for the beanie? We went to this little flea market and she handmade these beanies. Mm-hmm. And she's all, for what? I'm all, the beanie. And she's all, that's a toboggan.
Toboggan? That's a sled.
Toboggan. So that's what I said. I'm all, no, that's the thing you slide down the mountain on. So no, that's a sled.
That's what? Funny.
So yeah, they call beanies toboggans.
So that is hilarious.
And so I had to tell her the story. I know this girl from Washington, and we got into a debate whether it was a beanie or a cap. So I think she'll be happy to hear that, or think it's funny to hear that it's called a toboggan.
I don't think I said cap. I think I said hat.
Oh, did you say hat? Whatever. I thought you said cap. Either way.
I don't think so, because I call it a hat, like a hat. I had the same discussion with Joel when he was out here and we were at the mountain and he bought me a new beanie. It's a hat. No, stocking cap. What does he call it? Stocking cap. That's what I call it.
Stocking cap. Right.
He calls it a beanie.
Okay. Yeah, go Joel.
But then even his family that live out here, they called it beanie too. I'm like, no, it's a stocking cap. And I was in Walmart the other day. I should take a picture. And it was a stocking cap and it said beanie in Washington. And I was like, really? What? They are wrong.
They are wrong.
They are
Walmart
wrong.
is wrong.
Walmart's wrong. It's a stocking cap. But anyways, that's
so audience, let us know. What do you call it? Is it a toboggan? Is it a stocking cap? Is it a beanie?
You know what? You can add a poll. I might push the button that says add a poll. I'm going to do two polls on this if I can figure out how. One is, do you believe you can love two people at once? And stocking cap or beanie? Serious, not serious. Or
toboggan.
Other.
Don't forget or other.
Okay. So I'm going to see because I just saw that today that you can add a poll to this episode.
Oh, interesting.
Might be interesting. Anyways, let's wrap it up. You want to close this out in prayer?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much again for this time. We thank you for new love for Michelle. What a beautiful thing to see unfold. It's just been awesome to see. And I pray that you would bless them in their relationship. I also pray for all others out there, whether they are in a new relationship, they're considering starting one, they don't want to be in one. I just pray that you would comfort their heart wherever they're at, and strengthen any relationship that they may be in. I pray for new beginnings. I pray for this new year that you would bless us all walking through this new season, that we would just all draw closer to you, which is the most important thing on this entire planet. This entire world is just us drawing close to you. And I pray for myself and Michelle and all those listening that we would just be able to draw close and be covered by the Holy Spirit, that he would just dwell in us and just help us be people who love and are just constantly looking for ways to spread your kingdom to the world. We thank you again for this opportunity and all the blessings that you bestow upon our lives. The most important one is your son, Jesus Christ. And it's in his name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this first episode of 2022.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop. Whoop. There it is. Is that pretty good?
Tag team back again. Check to direct them. Let's begin. Party on, party people.
Party on.
I couldn't even keep going. You were doing it with me.
I'm trying to say the words.
That was great. No, that was good.
It was good. Good times. Anyways, if you like this episode, if you could give us a little big 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen. If you really like it, you want to do a little review, that'd be awesome to get the word out so more widows can have hope for their future. Again, if you'd like to be a what's it called? Guest. Words, they're not happening in person. If you'd like to be a guest on this podcast, please email us at widowed2 with the number 2, widowed too soon, m@gmail.com. You can also send us a message on Instagram, widowed too soon _ yes, _ also Facebook group. A lot of people are joining it. Widowed too soon.
Facebook famous.
Don't forget to check out my TikTok at Widow Goals. You'll find some entertainment.
Dancing in
Boot Barn. Yes, I did dance in Boot Barn. But I think I told you they like banned like some of my videos because I was too high up on things. So did I tell you that?
No, you told me that people were talking about it.
No, I got 2 of my videos got banned. One of them was like a jumping off a bridge video. That it was like dangerous acts, and the other one,
oh my gosh,
yes, and if you get banned too many times, they take down your account, so I have to be careful. Then I did another one. So my parents have a chicken coop that looks like a barn, and I was not far off the ground, and I did a dance on top of it, and they banned it, and I wasn't allowed to post for a couple days.
Oh my gosh, serious?
The dangerous acts.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So no more dancing on the counter.
No, I don't really.
Or bar stools. So the falling off a bar stool is never going to happen.
No, I mean, they didn't take those videos down, but I'm trying not to do ones where I'm up very high because I'm afraid of getting banned, and I don't.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, so try to keep it down low.
I'm sorry, that's such a sidetrack, but I'm sorry, that was just like what? Like
yeah,
that's not dangerous. Oh my gosh.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. So
wow.
I get it. They don't want
you're gonna encourage other widows to go get up on top of barns.
I know, and it was a chicken coops. It was not that high off the ground.
Yeah, I actually remember that. It was like 4 feet off the ground.
Yes. I'm like, are you kidding me? But whatever.
Yeah, you don't want to encourage anybody to stub their toe.
I know,
That'd be terrible. So hey, real quick before we end, can you tell people real quick how simple it is to be a guest?
Simple. You email us.
No, I mean as far as like once you get
yeah. Like
because I know some people are afraid of it.
Yeah, it's really
might
easy.
think this is live or something,
Yeah, we just usually do a preliminary conversation just to kind of like hear your story, like tell us a little bit, make sure we're kind of like on the same page with what we want to talk about. And then it's really easy. The 3 of us get on a Zoom. We send you a Zoom link, and it is not live. So if there's something you don't like, we can like take it out. And we just say we're having a conversation, like tell us your story. Like it's really that simple, and it just feels like we're having a conversation, and then we just put it on air. So if you want to do that, we would love to have you as a guest. Don't be shy.
Looking at you, Linnea.
Linnea, you listening? Oh, that's gonna be fun when she's like, because I think she listens to all the episodes. That'll be fun when she tells us.
She's been awesome. She has an incredible story. I'd love to have her. She told me before that she's like a little nervous to do it, but so I kind of was thinking about that to say that there's nothing to be nervous about. That
do you remember how nervous you were before our first episode?
Oh my gosh, yeah. You're like, are you ready? I'm like, no. Hold on, no.
You were so nervous, but you knew that it would help a lot of people.
Yep.
And it did, and it continues to help people. So your story, people listening out there, your story could help others. So just think about it, pray about it, and we'd love to have you. So I think that's it. I think we're good. We talked for a long time today, but this is a really important issue, and I think it's just good to be real, keeping it real. Didn't we do an episode called Keeping It Real?
We did.
We did.
And now we're going to do part 2 soon called Keeping It Real.
And then we'll do Keeping It Real.
We could just expand upon that forever.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you. God bless.
Bye.